Welcome to the Road to Real Estate with Jon and Lauren, where we discuss becoming a new agent and how to get through this business. We're also on Instagram at the Road to Real Estate. Hey everybody, welcome to the Real Estate Podcast. I'm Jon and I've got the lovely Lauren with us as well. Say hi.
Hey guys.
Before we even get started, one of our listeners, happens to be my sister, but it's still a listener, got me this awesome Trapper Keeper. Now I've got two. I'm going to try and do this. It got edited out last week. Oh, that's nice. For you Spotify people. Yeah. So before we get started, you want to do me a favor and click that notification bell and like and subscribe, and we'll get going. Oh, we have an espresso drawing to do. Do you want to do that, Lauren?
We do. We have an espresso drawing. This is for our Nespresso Virtuo Pop Deluxe by DeLonghi with the Aerochino, which makes the frothy, good milk goodness that turns your regular coffee or espresso into a latte or cappuccino and all the coffee espresso love. And so what we do when we have these kind of raffles is it's very exciting. We assign everybody a number, and then we use a random number generator on the computer. So we're going to do that together right now. So everyone is already in a spreadsheet. They have already been assigned a number, and I am doing the random number generator here on my computer. If you hear me click, click, click. And the random number is number 10. So I'm going to see who that is on our raffle, and that is Mr. Brendan Beatty. So yay!
Yay for Brendan. Listen, I use it every day. I am obsessed with it. I can't believe I had to pay for mine.
You didn't know you could win it in a raffle?
Oh, well, the reason it's in the raffle is because I like mine so much. I thought everybody else would want one.
That's awesome. Well, I'm really excited because I also bought Girl Scout cookies from Brendan's daughter. And so I am not only delivering an espresso machine, I also get to pick up Girl Scout cookies.
Well, I want some. Samoas
I think I win in that situation.
That's fair.
Or maybe we do. Maybe we do. What's your favorite Girl Scout cookie?
Oh, Samoas, but depending on who you buy from, that would also be a caramel delight.
Why would it be depending on who you buy from?
Oh, you didn't know this? So there's different regions of Girl Scouts. So in some regions, they're called Samoas. In some regions, they're called caramel delights.
What? I had no idea.
Yeah, that's the coconut caramel one with the chocolate stripes and chocolate on the base.
I was a Girl Scout. Yeah, I know what a Samoa is. I didn't know it was called a caramel delight. I had no idea.
Yeah. So I've moved around this country. I've learned a lot of things of whys beyond my years.
That is great. Well, I'm a tag along girl myself. Chocolate, peanut butter. That's mine.
I do those too. Well, I house all of them. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So do you want to do a podcast? I mean, we started it. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
Hey guys, you've been here watching us ramble about Girl Scout cookies and espresso machines. Congrats, Brendan. This week's topic is databases. And I have this little thing from my post-licensing class that says there's 4 laws to lead generation. Build a database, feed it every day, communicate it with in a systematic way, and service all the leads that come your way. So we're going to focus on databases today. But we don't know how to do that. So what do you recommend doing first, Lauren?
Well, as a new realtor or real estate agent, you're going to be bombarded. I was so surprised about the number of phone calls, messages, text messages, emails, just the number of people calling me as soon as my license went active. Have you had this experience, Jonathan?
It's an insane amount. We actually touched about it in our very first episode, and we'll go back into it. Because this job leaves you particularly vulnerable because you don't have a structure when you walk into a place to do your business, and it's up to you to create that structure. There are a lot of people that like to separate you from your money with that easy answer. We make sales today. We can sell you different areas with different leads. I've seen the newest one that's actually come through my Instagram in the last 2 weeks. I've never seen it before. Is you don't pay us till you close. And so they give you referrals based upon that, but I don't know what their percentage is or anything. But yeah, there's a lot out there. Some are more scammy than others. Some are scams, some aren't. There's a whole range. It's rough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I was prepared for how many people were going to call me as a real estate agent and ask me to buy something, right? And so, the one thing I would think that for for real estate agents, when you're first getting into the business, where does your money come from, right? Where does your first sale come from? Where do you get people to talk to you about real
Hmm.
estate and not hang up the phone or walk away or not be your friend anymore? How do you talk to people, and where do you find them? Who do you contact? And so I would tell you that the average realtor only has four main sources of business, right? If you look
That's
at
a smart
NAR,
way to do it. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, if you look at NAR, they talk about NAR is the National Association of Realtors. They talk about that there could be as many as seven streams, but typically the top four are where the majority of your money comes from,
Yeah,
right?
I
Your
think if you
income.
do more than four, I'm not saying you can't. It's just like then you start to dilute your productiveness because you're focused all over the place. So narrowing it down to four generates a good, steady, even stream of income.
Hmm.
The first of those is the one you should be doing. The second, or even before you have your realtor license, is your sphere of influence, which is the people you already know, the people you already talk to. That's friends and family, local area. Um, I don't know how else to explain that. It's just
Yeah,
people you
even
know.
yeah, people that you have some kind of influence over, right? And that would be like, would they ask you where to buy a pair of pants, or where to, what did you think about this product or that product? Would you be able to, guide them in any way? Because when we talk about real estate, we talk about that people do business with people they know, like, and trust.
Yes,
If you don't hit one of those criteria, if they don't know you, they can't use you, right?
but that makes
Period.
sense.
Now,
Yeah,
of course, you can meet and go forward, but if they don't know you, like you, if they don't like you, unless you just have an incredible skill set that they need, they probably won't do business with you. There's so many other realtors that it's just not.
yeah. There's no reason to go with somebody you
Yeah,
don't like. That's for sure.
yeah, and then trust. This is one of the largest purchases that you will ever make.
Hmm.
Your house is typically the largest purchase. And so if trust is really important, if your job is literally to guide them through the largest purchase of their life, trust is really important. And so your sphere has a lower barrier of entry. They already know you, they already like you, they already have some level of trust with you.
Yeah.
And so you've just jumped over that hurdle that you still have with a stranger. And so your sphere would be the first place that I would look to. Now, Jonathan, what kind of things have you done as a new agent with your sphere?
Oh, well, I mean, as soon as I got my license, and even some people a little bit before, but for the most part, after I got my license, I immediately messaged everybody. Like, I went straight through my phone and sent, I don't want to say 400 messages just to everybody. Even if when my had contact with them from my other career was like, I want them to know that I now also do this. You trust me enough with that. Well, I can also do this for you. So immediately everyone got a text. And then what I've been doing lately is I've been going through it and trying to reach as many people just in conversation, not to sell myself, but just to be in touch and see what they're into. I use the Ford method of conversation, family, occupation,
Recreation.
recreation, and dreams. R is hard. So I go through that just to touch base. But what I'm finding is because prior to this job, I did not keep in touch with everyone. My conversations are very long. I spent an hour on the phone with every person I talk to, even when I'm trying to get off the phone. Like I got a lot of calls to make, and I'm being genuine. And because I'm being genuine, we have a lot to catch up on because I've in the past not been very good at keeping touch. So now I'm paying for it, I guess. I'm enjoying the conversations. Don't get me wrong, but I definitely like I'm supposed to call. We have this little database that tells you what letters to call, letters to texts, and I've not gotten close to getting through a single letter yet. So if you're the second letter on that list, it's going to be a while before I get to you. That's it's good that people want to talk to me and I want to talk to people. It's a good thing. It's way better than having people in your contacts go like, hang up. Like it's a good problem.
No, it is a good problem to have. One of the books that here we can add this to the book list that we
Ooh,
recommend is How to Win Friends and Influence People.
I
And
do have that upstairs.
yeah, it's a great book.
I haven't read it, but
One
I
of
have it.
the you haven't read it. Out of all the books you've read, Jonathan, you haven't read that one.
I,
Uh, The cool thing about that is that a lot, when you read it, it was obviously written at a different time than where we are
Mm-hmm.
now. However, it's so applicable.
Mm.
It's so applicable, and it talks about how to be a good friend, how to be a good person, how to interact with your friends and family so that they want to interact with you. And
Mm-hmm.
it seemed, when you read it, it's super common sense, but then you realize that the best friends in your life, or the people that you feel like care about you, they either naturally do this or they've trained themselves to do this,
Mm-hmm.
because it creates closer relationships and better bonds. It's a great book. So go, put it on your list, read it, listen to it. I believe that one you could probably find on YouTube, and just give it a good listen,
Yeah. Okay.
without
Yeah.
having to turn a page.
In my defense, my wife bought that book for herself. I just know it's sitting on the shelf up there. I saw the cover. I'm like, I know how to make friends, and I don't want to influence people.
Well, and right now you
But
have
now I'm in this
20
industry. I
friends,
really
right?
should read it, right? so,
Yeah, and,
so
and that was written by Dale Carnegie. So I mean, it's a really great book. So put it on your list, especially if you're a new agent. I think it can help you with how to talk to people and what to think about, and also gives you ideas for ways to communicate with your sphere that feels very natural and very
mhm.
friendly, not as salesy.
That's fair. And the next thing to do, I think we can move on from sphere of influence. Is the first thing that you had me do was do an open house and
Yeah.
find open houses. And what I've learned is that put me leaps and bounds ahead of other agents because I went into my post licensing class and stuff. Now, not all of us went through and got our license at the same time, but when I was talking about, I got this open house. I got this open house. They kept on, did your team give you those open house? Did your team like, no, I call the realtor and, I talk to them and build a rapport with these people. And a lot of people don't know how to do that, don't know how important it is to do that. And it's not just for getting the sale, but building a relationship with other realtors to trust you going into one of their homes and hanging out for a couple hours while you try to come up with a buyer. So you
Yeah,
want to,
it's a great point, because with an open house, we are selling as agents, we are selling houses, but we're also selling our services, which equates to selling ourselves. And so as we're selling our services, right, we don't have we're not Target, we're not Apple. People don't just show up, we're not Amazon. They're not just going online looking for us specifically. They're going looking for a house. And so an open house is a place where they people are coming, and buyers are looking to buy, sellers are looking to sell. You actually can interact with people that are closer to the point of a sale than
yes, it's
almost
a
anywhere
warmer
else.
lead than most because
Yeah,
they're
because
in the
they're at
market.
least interested somehow. Either they're
Hmm.
coming to scope it out as a neighbor because they're thinking about selling, or they're coming as a buyer trying to figure out if this is a neighborhood they're looking for. And we have a fun phrase we have in real estate called looky loos. Some people don't like that looky loos come to open houses, but personally, it's a connection, right?
Yeah,
You never know when somebody just passing by you're gonna make a connection with them and then work with
when
them
they're
in the
ready.
future.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we had an open house up in one of the northern suburbs, and some people came in and we connected. I helped them to buy a different house. I helped them to sell their house. They have since moved out of that house. I helped them to sell that house, and they live across the country now. And we still keep in touch, right? Not only did they become a client, but they also became a good friend, just because they were a looky loo, somebody who
yeah,
hadn't planned to move but saw this house and fell in love with it. So,
yeah. It's important to know like they're warmer leads and you're building
mhm.
relationships. So if you're new to real estate, the thing to do is in your local FMLS or MLS, whatever they call it in your state, you can do a search. You have to add it to do your brokerage code. And when you do that search, it'll give you every house listed by the broker or by the realtors that work for that brokerage. And at the bottom of every MLS listing, it'll have their name and number. And you can use that to contact them and reach out and go, hey, you just listed this house. I noticed that you didn't have an open house. I'd love to host one for you. It's a very simple conversation. And that's how I did it.
Yeah, that's a really great point. So if you are with a broker, it is easiest to host open houses of other people in your same brokerage, because it's there's no violations there, because technically your broker is the one that the people hired and you're the salesperson assigned to them. However, you can host houses from outside of your brokerage. There's just an additional paperwork, additional forms you have to put in.
Oh, okay. I
So
didn't know
make
that.
sure you can do it. It's just there's just additional things. Their broker has to agree to it. Your broker has to agree to it. Everyone has to play nice and sign a form so that it's all kumbaya. But yeah, so if you're in a smaller area that maybe, or you're at a smaller brokerage that doesn't have as many options for listings and for open houses, that could be an option for you as well. So talk to your broker, figure out the laws in your area. We don't want you to do anything illegal, but open houses are a great place. It's very natural when you think about open houses. The next thing I think about is for sale by owners,
Yeah,
right? Those are
which I've never
another.
done. I've never even attempted. I'll be
Yeah.
honest. So it's right out here to the people. Haven't reached to anybody in a
And
for
I'll
sale by owner
tell
or
you that,
expired
Jonathan,
market.
it's not probably your fault specifically because there's less for sale by owners in our specific area that we work
Mm.
than other parts of the city or the country. And so I'll tell you, Jonathan, we'll give you a little pass on this. We
Oh, whew.
at the moment, but for sale by owners are great because those are sellers that have already raised their hand. They're ready to sell. They're willing to sell. They're able. They've put something on the market. They've at least attempted maybe a photograph or two, and they have the intention of selling. So
Hmm.
unlike somebody in your sphere that you're calling, a for sale by owner is actually looking to move.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, it's
Mhm.
like I said, it's probably the easiest in terms of if you had to get somebody today and you needed a listing, you just had to do it. That person's selling a house and how you talk to them. We use scripts to get good at these conversations, but definitely that's the way to go for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
there's some really great scripts, and with for sale by owners, they may not be ready today to list with you. A lot of times, they are doing it on their own. However, the percentage of for sale by owners that wind up flipping to real estate agents, specifically in our area, is super high. It's very, very high. The numbers were probably a little bit lower during COVID because there was so much house selling happening. But as the market continues to slow down, the percentages will go back up. It's a very high percentage. And fun fact, the guy who started the actual company called For Sale by Owner, ironically is a broker, right? And when he needed to sell his Manhattan condo, he did not for sale by owner. He used an
ah,
agent because you had to be smart about your market. And in that Manhattan condo market, they're all represented, right? He didn't want
yeah, of
strangers coming
course.
into his house. He wasn't going to host the showings, and he
Yeah.
was at a price point where he needed a broker. So you have to look at where you're doing for sale by owners, and they can be a fantastic source of business. People actually say this is your teachers will probably tell you this. For sale by owner is FSBO. A FISBO is what we call it for short. It also we call it a fastest source of business opportunity.
Fastest
Right.
source of business opportunity. I'd say that's a
Yeah,
good. See, the
FISBO.
acronym goes both ways. And
Yeah.
then to me, as soon as we start talking FISBOs, my brain goes to expireds after that. That they're so
Yeah.
closely related. And we explained it in a previous episode, but if you didn't listen or hear that one or watch that one, what an expired is where a person has signed with a realtor and they're in a contract and they try to sell the home and the home doesn't sell within that contract's time and that contract then expires, hence the name expired. There's a whole different script for reaching out to these people. This is another area where I don't have the experience, but you have tons, so it works out.
Well, once again, it depends on where you are in your market, right? I mean, as us in Atlanta, our days of market are starting to lengthen as the market is changing right now. But the time that you've had in the market, Jonathan, has not been a large part of our business. It's still less than 10% of our entire MLS at this moment. Now, other areas of Atlanta might be experiencing different, but where we sell, we really see less than 10% expires. When I first started, though, it was 30 to 50% of our business.
Yeah,
And
it's a
so it
big
was a
deal.
large part of the market. So when I first got into real estate with the expired listings, I took a class. I signed up for one of these companies that had called. Now I vetted them because they were the one that the class recommended. It was Redex at the time,
Okay.
and then we used that whole expired system. But it wasn't just about purchasing a product, right? I was taking a class with a coach. It was a group class. I had a partner that I did scripts with every single day. And I told you I was such a nerd. I had my trifold, my science fair board up with all my scripts
Hmm.
on it, and I was ready to go every day. We had to start calling at 7 a.m. Back then, we would start to I'd start prepping at 7, and I think 7:30 or 8 a.m. is when you had to start calling, because if you weren't one of those first calls, they would turn their phone off and stop answering. And so
Mm.
that's, I mean, it's how I started my business. It was okay, it wasn't. Do I say it was my favorite time in real estate? Nope. I like the happy sphere friend repeat client business. That's
Oh, yeah,
great.
of course. Oh, you the cushy
But
part.
yeah,
You mean? Yeah, you
but
have to. It takes a while to learn and get to that point. You earn that trust from enough people; they're going to use you again. But for all the newer agents out there, you haven't earned that yet, and so you have to bite and claw and climb your way to a point where you have enough transactions, have a big enough sphere of people you've worked with, stayed in contact with, and then things get to the point where you're like, yeah, 90% of my business is referral. Well, if you've never done
is
it
it?
before, you don't get it.
Yeah, you can't get a zero
Yeah,
percentage
it's
of
really
zero
tough.
is zero. Yeah, so
Yeah.
you have to get to that point. Jonathan, I don't know. I'm pulling a wild card here. I didn't tell you this ahead of time,
Oh.
but part of what you had said about hosting open houses with other agents and creating strong relationships with the other agents, right? Where the agents trust you and see you as a professional, not just a new agent, right?
Hmm.
You can be new, but you can also be seen as professional and someone who's going to make it in our world. I started developing those relationships early on, and I had an agent who did not like working rentals, right?
Mm.
Rentals in our area is a little bit of a black sheep. It's not a large part of our market, but we do have them and they don't pay a lot. So a lot of agents are reluctant to work rentals. We do have rental companies that will work them for them. But this time I was new. I was happy to take anything, and my friend kept sending me rental leads.
Mm.
Well, she sent me a rental lead, and I said, "Oh, what do I owe you on it?" And she said, "Oh, rentals don't pay anything. You don't owe me anything." So typically, if in our industry, when somebody refers someone else's business, you might pay a 10 or 20, 25 or 30% referral fee back to that person for giving you that business,
Yeah.
right? And so she said she wanted nothing. So I took these guys out to see rentals. They didn't rent anything.
Oh.
They bought.
Oh.
And then after they bought one house, they bought another house. And then they bought another house. And then they bought another house.
Oh
And this
man.
one source of business, when I was a brand new agent, so nervous, so scared, this one client over the past 15 years, we have done 8 transactions together. And I have done about 8 listing leads for them, rental listings for them. And so this one referral, because I was professional with another agent, she gave me this one rental referral, and that has translated into lots of business for me for the past 15 years. So
Oh.
don't forget how important those connections are with those agents, because agent to agent referral is very popular.
Yeah, and also the connection on it, like you don't know, like even if it was the rental, if you do a good job with them and you have a good experience with them, you stay in contact. They may, in a year from now, 2 years from now, when their lease expires, be ready to purchase. So
Mm-hmm.
everything you got to plant seeds. Everything could be something, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I know that once you hit a certain point as an agent, you can brush off business, I guess. But as a new agent, anything is potential, and you shouldn't brush it off. Nothing is too. You're not too good for anything. You
Mm-hmm.
should do everything you got to do to get that first, second, third, fourth,
Yeah, and be
contract.
professional, right? If I had showed
Hmm.
up and said, "Oh yeah, you're just a rental," and didn't give them the full attention and the full customer client experience,
Well,
what would
you
that have looked
saw
like?
from our brokerage, we get one of our agents had a story about it literally last week where he got a call to go look at a 20-acre plot years ago, and I don't think it was cheap, and maybe it wasn't 20 acre, maybe it was $20,000 plot of land. I think that's what it was, $20,000. So there's not a lot in it for the agent or anything else, but he did it, and he's a well to do agent. He's been around a long time. I showed up to the guy, and the guy walked around the property. He was doing his thing, and the guy's like, "I need more land than this." The guy ended up purchasing over 100 acres of land and develop is a big developer, so he ended up selling off a ton of houses and everything else off of that one $20,000 thing turned into millions and millions of dollars because he just took the time. It wasn't beneath him. He put in the work. He walked around looking at plots of land with this guy and everything else, and it turned into a big business that he still uses. I don't know, 10 years later, 20 years later, a long time, you know.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, it takes a long time to develop raw land, right? And so
Yeah,
he sold some off or built houses slowly or whatever he did. Yeah, that can be a lot of business.
yeah,
Great little kind of side plug, even though we didn't have builder business as part of this, but builders look for land. If you're looking at doing some kind of new home sales, the best way to get them with a builder is to know about land,
of
right?
course.
So keep that in there. Besides farming, expireds, for sale by owners, another big thing that new agents look into is geographical farming. Do you guys
Yes.
do you want to tell us what that is,
So it's
Jonathan?
just something I'm doing right now, actually. I just sent out my first letter to my neighborhood. So I'm farming my own neighborhood because that's where I walk and that's just where I live. And I see people every day and I wave to them. So um, geographic farming is sending mailers, which is, I guess, more marketing part side of it. It's passive, but then
Mm-hmm.
also being present and being there and knocking on doors and saying hi to your thing and knowing about your own neighborhood to help build business in your own neighborhood. Because if your own neighborhood can't trust you, who can, right? Like they see me every day, so why not? You know. So
That's funny. Yeah. So geographical farming is super effective. Now it's a longer game, right? We talked about for sale by owner being the fastest source of business opportunities. We talk about your sphere being the first people that know you, like you, trust you, want to work with you. When it comes to farming, it takes a little bit longer. On average, it's about 18 to 24 months before you see some kind of return. It can be faster, but that's the average. You have to plan the long game with geographical farming and be ready to have a systematic way that you communicate with that geographic farm so that you can, you know, become their agent of choice over time.
yeah. So you haven't seen this yet, so I'll put it on screen.
Oh yay!
So you won't see the letter. The letter's already out, but this is my March mailer. Let's see if we can get it in front of the camera. It's my puppy. A
Oh
little postcard
baby,
from the neighborhood. Yeah, easy peasy.
this is Jonathan's brand new puppy,
It
and
is. This is
so
Sleepy. I
so
was going to
tell
put him on the podcast, but he's
tell him
upstairs
the
being
tell him
a
the
trouble.
tagline. The tagline's so cute.
Oh, I think you came up with the tagline, didn't
I
you?
did. Yeah, my
Self plug.
tagline was awesome. Yeah, thanks, Jonathan,
You did
for
such a good
calling me
job. You
out
wrote
on
up a
that one.
postcard for me.
Huh?
It says,
Yeah.
"Our neighborhood is growing by 4 feet." Oh,
Oh,
see,
so
that's kind of
cute.
dad jokey. That's what I wanted to add to
Yeah.
this podcast. There you kind of go. So there's you do also if you happen to have an HOA, some of them will let you host events. You know, so you can do something fun by the pool that gets the whole neighborhood there, and then you sponsor the event.
Mhm.
What else do you do
Yeah,
between
well,
mailers, knockers, and events?
yeah, you door knock, right?
Mm.
You want to know people want to know you. Geographical farming can also include things like sponsoring a little league team or like you said, a neighborhood event. We've had people that do popsicles, right? Last day of school, hey, let's have a popsicle party. Even if you don't have an HOA, I mean, if you do, it could be at the pool or at the playground or whatever. If you don't, you could just do it at the bus stop. Like, if you know where the
Mm.
bus stop is, like, hey, happy last day of school, send out a flyer, let people know, like, hey, I'll bring popsicles for all the kids. Let's celebrate the end of school. Super fantastic way to just kind of get to know people and to show up and be there and to connect with people.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So
Well,
I think
well,
geographical farming is really great. It is a long game and it does cost money, right?
yeah, it's might want to get some other stuff going before you start that as a young agent. It is like I said, it does take time, takes money, and you got to be
Mm-hmm.
consistent with it. If you're going to do it one time and not continue doing it, it's not very effective. You got to keep doing it, keep putting it out there. But I did take a class on farming, actually at a different brokerage. I mean, it's still Keller Williams, just a different office. And the guy was talking about how they did an AI generated farming where they didn't do any door knocking, didn't do anything else, and they did it for 1 year. And then when they went and did a questionnaire with the residents of that neighborhood, and asked who the best realtor was in that neighborhood. And it was this fake one made by AI, did as a test, had a 60% result just by the
That's
doing,
crazy, right?
yeah,
Just for
just by the
mailers.
mailers for a month, for 12 months straight.
Yeah. Now, when you're looking at, I think that's a great point because people need that repetitiveness in order for the farming to start working. The other thing is that you want to look at your farm and you want to double check. Before we chose Jonathan's farm for, which is his neighborhood, we made sure that he had some kind of physical presence there. Obviously, he lives there. We talked about walking his dog, when he's going to walk his dog, what streets he's going to walk. We talked about what does that look like? What does their presence look like in that neighborhood?
Mm-hmm.
We also double checked that there wasn't an agent that had over 30% market share. So when we talk about market share, that means that one agent listing everything. Sometimes
Yeah.
you go into an area where an agent just has a good hold on a neighborhood. You're fighting an uphill battle if you're in that
Mm-hmm.
situation, right? And so you want to double check and make sure that nobody has the majority of the market share, and you also want to make sure that there's been enough home sales in recent times to justify
Mm-hmm.
the money that you're putting into it. Because if there's been less than 5 home sales in the past 18 months, you're not going to get enough turnover. Even if everybody in that neighborhood uses you, but doesn't sell
Yeah.
for
Well,
10
that was
years or
one of
20
the things
years,
when I was
it
doing
doesn't
my
work.
addresses, like writing it down, it can tell you who purchased it and how long ago they purchased it. So some of those letters went out to people that purchased, 28 years ago, 30 years ago. I'm like, well, maybe they're about ready. I sent them anyways, just but the range was everywhere from, obviously there was some that got stuff that was purchased in the last year and some that was purchased so long ago. But yeah, it was cool to see as I was going through, like, wow, man, they've only been here. I was the newest guy in the neighborhood. No, they got here right before we did, or you know what I mean. So it was cool. I
Yeah.
learned a lot about my neighborhood doing it.
Yeah, it's fun. And Jonathan mentioned a good point before when he talked about how to find open houses, like creating automated searches in your MLS. This would also be great. Whatever your geographical farming area is, you want to create an automatic MLS search for yourself
Mm-hmm.
so that you know what's going on. If somebody buys, if somebody sells, like what does that look like? Do you have an HOA that does a welcome to the neighborhood basket? If not, could you start one?
Yeah.
Could you be that person? Maybe you didn't get that sale, but maybe their friend wants to move there. Maybe their family does. Maybe you can get them when they're going out of the neighborhood. It's just a great way to meet people and to have that presence like you were talking about.
Yeah. Well, knowing your neighborhood's really good. Having that MLS thing is there. So, like, for instance, that first letter I sent out, I said, "Hey, there in the last there's currently 4 houses for sale in our neighborhood, which our neighborhood's pretty big. There's over 700 houses in our little route. I'm not doing all 700 yet. My goal is to grow to that. But I put that information in there, like there are this many for sale. This is the average sale price. If you want to know more about what your home could be worth, please contact me. I just real simple, small blurb, just introduce myself with a picture of me being crazy. But it shows information about what's going on. It has value. Is the goal.
Hmm.
So.
And do you remember that contact me for more information? That do you remember what it's called, Jonathan? This is a funny word. Do you remember?
Oh, I'm never gonna know. If it's vocabulary, I fail every year. You know that, right?
It's called a mofer. Do you remember this?
Oh, Mofer.
Yeah. So when you're sending out these mailers, you want to make sure to have a mofer to make offer for immediate response. So that if somebody is in the market and is thinking about it, they have a reason to reach out to you, right? You're not just spewing information on them. There's something that they can come back to you for. So that's
Yes.
called a mofer.
There you go.
Yeah. So geographical farming is the space, right, where you choose a neighborhood or a geographical boundary to send mailers to and farm to. There's also a sociographic farm, and I have a sociographic farm that I work, and it's my son's school.
I was going to ask, what is a sociographic farm? It's
Yeah.
so sophisticated.
So it's a social, right? A social group. And so for us, we are all elementary school parents. It's a K-5 school. It is a public school. So you could say, oh, is that geographic farming? Well, sort of, but not everybody. I'm not farming to everyone in the neighborhood. I'm farming to everyone at the elementary school. Does that
Yes.
make sense?
Yeah, it
And
makes
so
sense.
it's a socio group, not a geographical group. because not everybody has kids of that age or that go to that school, even if they have kids of that age. So things that we do for that, I have one right here. Every year we make the calendar for the school year. I don't know how well you can see
Mm.
it, but it shows you what days you're off of school, teacher work days, the beginning of the semester, the end of the semester. I brand it to us. Here's our little logo.
Oh, that's
This is the
cool.
school mascot. And so it's branded to the school. It's a magnet because every teacher ever known to man has that magnetic file cabinet that's
Mm-hmm.
right beside their desk, and it's right there. I give it to every teacher. I give it to every parent. If you're new to the school, they have them in the new people packets as well. And so it's a great resource. And we are business partners at the school. We do school events and we do giveaways. They had a glow party and they asked us to donate the glow sticks, the giant foam. I probably have one right here if I
Oh,
look hard enough. Yep.
are we gonna
There's,
rave right now?
yeah, well, I don't know if you can see it with
Oh,
the.
it's too
I
bright
don't.
in
The
there.
lights are not bright enough in here, but yeah, it has like the different glow colors and it like flashes. And for the
Nice.
glow party, we wound up donating those, and so we wind up doing things for the school that are branded to us.
So
So,
I saw that and I immediately thought those kids were sword fighting all day.
oh yeah, hardcore sword
Immediately.
fighting. Yeah, it was the boys' glow party, and they used them as swords. And not only that, but they popped every balloon that had been blown up along the stage within like 5 minutes. It was
Oh, good. Good, good,
hysterical.
good.
After one kid did it, they said, "Oh, we can pop the balloons," and then they were all gone immediately. So, but the point is that they were branded to us and they were given out, swords or not, and it was just another touch that, like, hey, we live here, we work here, we play here. If you're looking for an expert in the neighborhood, we're experts here.
Hmm. So how does that tie? How's that? Is that considered the same as joining a local bowling league or in clubs and stuff? Is that considered social farming as well? Is that tie in?
That is a type of socio farming, but I would call that like new sphere, right? Like, how are you getting your new sphere people? Because your
Mm.
existing sphere are the people that you already know. But in real estate, we also want to expand that group, and so there you can go the personal way, or you can go the professional way. And so personal would be adding people to your sphere that have hobbies similar to you, maybe religious interest similar to you, clubs or different groups that you can join, but you just need to go join them, not where you know everybody, where you're meeting new people.
Yeah, exactly. Hmm.
If you know everybody in that group, they are already in your sphere. So what did we talk about for you, Jonathan? What were some things you did?
So for me, it's the big one is bowling, but I missed the cutoff, so I'm hoping to get into the spring league. I'm a big bowler, and I'm also kind of a chatty Cathy. I don't know if you knew that about me. So I like to be
You
kind of, kind of loud and obnoxious when I'm on the lanes, which makes conversations great.
You like to be
I don't
loud
know
and
if it
obnoxious
counts.
on the lanes.
Oh, I if I'm not bowling well, I roll up my pant legs, I put my hat on crooked. I've just like you ever watch Tin Cup? That's what that's from. And when he makes him look ridiculous for the shot. And so I do that to myself. As I bowl worse and worse, I get weirder and weirder. It's great. People think I'm not taking it seriously, but I just tin cup it, go for it.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a new bowling league. I play tennis, and I don't play on the same team always. I try to rotate who I'm playing with. Right? I very gently and very nicely had to break up with my team in the fall and said, hey,
Oh.
I'm ready to go to a new team. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed playing with you guys. And then I go to a new team where I know some people on there, but not the majority. And I meet new people, get to play with new people. I enjoy playing tennis with new people, and just get a new group of people. And so adding new people into your sphere.
I
Now,
just assumed you yell it across the net at the other team as you're returning the serve instead of doing loud grunts and groans like, interest rates are down. I got a great house.
well, ironically, tennis is kind of the best and worst sport for realtors because there are so many realtors that play tennis.
Oh, they're all doing it.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a saturated
You got
sport
to take
for
over
realtors.
pickleball. You're really
Oh,
dominating it.
see,
It's taking over the world.
Yeah, it is the fastest growing sport, but I feel like I'm caught in the middle because I don't feel like I'm old enough or young enough to play pickleball. I think
Oh,
that
you're
younger,
stuck
everybody
in the.
10 years younger than me, they're playing a lot of pickleball. Everybody 10 years older than me, they're playing a lot of pickleball. And I just want to keep playing
You're
tennis.
in that bubble.
So,
You're
yeah.
in the bubble.
Um, Besides your personal sphere, there's also a professional sphere, which would fall under like a networking category. And
Mm-hmm.
so, Jonathan, you have a kind of some funny stories
Oh
about network.
yeah. So I tried doing this one, guys. All right. I am trying to get my 4 pillars. Okay. Um, and it's just I don't know if it's timing or what it is, but anybody can. I used BNI. No insult to BNI. I know people that have BNI clubs, and it's worked out really well for them. And they're not in real estate, but they're in other businesses. So I've tried multiple locations. I tried doing it through their webpage, and I end up sitting out in parking lots at really early mornings. Like I guess as soon they meet before they go into work, and no one ever shows up. So I've tried several times. I think I've sat in parking lots 4 or 5 times now by myself, looking around at an empty building. So not had a lot of success in this one. And of course, BNI is such a huge company that there's not a phone where I can just call and be like, "Hey, I'm trying to join a BNI club." It's always like, "Oh, we have this AI assistant with." Here's the clubs in your area. They're looking for your because one thing good about this is they only allow one person per
Industry.
industry. So if you join with them, you're the only realtor along with the other people that. So the goal is to give each other referral services and help each other's business grow. I just haven't had any success with it. I'm sure there's a ton more
Yeah.
companies, but
Well, so BNI is the Business Network International, I believe is what it stands for, and that's kind of the go-to. There's Power Core groups. Your local chamber of commerce is a good one. I know that I really like philanthropic type of groups, and so I've done things like Civitan. There's Rotary. There's Key Club, Lions Club. There's all kinds of, I don't know, Shriners. I don't. There's all kinds of different clubs you could potentially join depending on what your interests are. There's also industry specific professional groups. Your board of realtors would be one
mm-hmm.
great place. You can also do, like I'm part of the Greater Atlanta Home Builders, what's it called? Organization. That is a national organization. I just got back from IBS, which is our International Builders Show every year. That was a huge show. There were a ton of people there. And so
I
these are the
saw a
kind of
picture of
things.
toilets on your Instagram. It's enough
Yeah,
to
I
catch
did.
my attention.
It was crazy. There was a beautiful exhibit. It was Kohler, and
Mm-hmm.
they make beautiful bathroom and kitchen, faucets and fixtures and anything to do with water. And it was so interesting because there were all these new toilets, and people were lined up to see it, and they
I'll
were
be
all
honest,
just
you don't see them like that at Home Depot.
no,
They're
you do
way
not.
cooler. I didn't
Well,
know they were that
they
cool.
open and they close and they light, and what it was is they had plexiglass right under the seat, and so they were actually showing you how the water sprays because these all, of course, were fancy and came with the bidet attachments, and so people were like watching how they worked because they were shooting water and then air to dry and everything. And it was just the funniest thing to walk up and see a whole group of people staring into a
Oh,
and
yeah,
there were
but
like hundreds of people in their booth. It was very packed and it was funny. And then they had a giant wall, like the Hollywood Squares wall, with all toilets in it, and they were all beautiful toilets. It
they
was it
were.
was so
I started as
confusing.
a joke, but they were stunning, and I was like,
Yeah,
time to step up my toilet game. I'm not on top. There's a lot to do, man.
yeah. I have failed my toilet game. That's for sure.
Yeah,
But these
mine looks like
professional
everyone else.
networking. What's that?
I said my toilet looks like everyone else's. I want to be different.
Yeah, one day we'll get there. I also saw a bunch of square toilets, which I don't know how I feel about a square toilet, but I don't know that I like it. I don't know that I don't like it. I've never thought of a
You just
square
got to
toilet.
design around it.
Yeah,
It's got to be the focal point of your restroom. Like, oh, it's square, but it fits so well.
yeah. Everything else is square in there. Yeah, so these groups create conversations. They network. Obviously, builders need agents to sell their houses or marketing help, and so these are like industry adjacent. So if there's any kind of industry adjacent that you can join networking wise, that's great. like I said, I had a lot of, I have a heart for people with special needs. And so the Civitan Club is a club that I join, and that we help the special needs population. And there's a lot of research that goes behind the money that we raise. And so, whatever organizations fit you, that would be a great place to meet people, because those are people that share the same interests as you, that are also going to kind of like you because you guys have things in common, and they're going to know you because you're giving back to the community, and they're going to start to trust you because they see who you are through these interactions. And so the professional networking and then professional philanthropic are both really great places to meet people. And typically those are places where you meet other people that are upperly mobile, and are in the home buying area. So even though Jonathan's experience with BNI was a little rocky, I think there's still potential there, depending on,
I'll give it a
let's
shot
make sure
again.
he
I'm
talks
not
to a
done.
human first.
I do have a really close friend that, like, after my experience, has been like, dude, he uses them. Like, that's his main source. Like, he uses the heck out of them. And he's like, you got to just keep going, man. You're going to find one. It's just a matter, because anyone can set one up. And then if it fails, it doesn't seem to get reported back to the main corporation. So they're like, you can start your own. I'm like, well, I'm already sitting in the parking lot by myself. Why not?
I already have my own. I'm
I
a
have it.
member.
I've been there. I've been to so many meetings. So anyway, so there's that. And then I think the last one is buying leads, which we also do, kind
Yeah.
of, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways to buy leads. I mean, I'm sure you've gotten calls from Zillow and Realtor.com, and I don't know who else calls you. I mean, there's just a million
Oh
different
yeah.
places that are calling.
Yeah. I mean, realtors the one that gets me the most, but also like dialers call me a lot. I get like
Mm-hmm.
Vulcan 7, Espresso. Speaking of Nespresso machines, the Espresso Agent is one
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
They should be a sponsor
Yeah.
of the show.
Mojo calls. Yeah, there also for VAs, virtual assistants, ISAs, which are inside sales
Mm-hmm.
associates that actually make some of those calls for you. And so there's a lot of places that you can buy leads, and a lot of different ways you can buy leads. It can be effective, especially if you have some money when you first get started. It's also can be a stretch when you first get started financially, and so you need to figure out what can you do and what works for you. It's not the same platform that it is now. But when I first started, I bought a couple of Zillow leads, and
Mm-hmm.
I did a couple months of it. It was a little different than, like I said, it's not the same system, so it won't translate to how they sell now. But it was really funny. Two of my leads worked out. Their last names were both Johnson, ironically, and they both bought in the same city. And since then, they're still in my client list, and I've gotten referrals and multiple buys from them. So
Mm-hmm.
even though I only did it for a short time, it kind of jump started what I was doing. And so if
Mm-hmm.
that is something you have the budget for,
It's
and
important.
that,
That budget's important.
yeah,
None of these services are cheap.
no, no,
None
and
of them.
it felt. I mean, it wasn't as much as it is now. I think back at that time it was like $300 to do what I did back then. I'm sure it'd be well over $1,000 a month. And so you have to find what's right for you, and you need to specifically tailor it to your area, right? We were very strategic about the zip code we did and that sort of thing. And then we are buying some leads now as the market slowed down
Mm-hmm.
and our sphere stopped moving as often, because we are a sphere based team. We needed to figure out where else we could get that business from. And so we researched different companies and we looked at what was working. And so we looked at, where do we get a warmer lead, not a
Mm-hmm.
cold lead of somebody who's just sitting on their computer at 2 a.m. clicking on pictures, but of somebody who's maybe in the market. And so we researched some companies. We found one that seemed to be congruent with us, and we decided to go for a couple of, some leads every month. So
Yeah. I'm enjoying talking to them. I've got a couple that are from there that are, we have conversations, man.
yeah, Jonathan
I
goes
just,
deep. He goes
yeah,
deep.
I do. I have a couple people that just, like, every week it's like clockwork. It's time to have that real estate talk, and I stay with it, and I think it's going to turn into transactions, because I mean, at this point they reach out to me, which is cool. They just got a lot going on, and it's important to know that it takes time. You like when people are ready to buy, they'll let you know if you've been in their contact. So it's just a matter of being patient. When they're ready, they'll reach out to you as long as you've had a good relationship with them and been honest with them, and you know you've earned their trust.
Yeah, and there's a saying in real estate: the money's in the follow up. Right? The
Yeah.
the lead is not typically where the money is. The money is in the follow up. It's keeping in contact and helping them out. So Jonathan has taken these online leads and he's not left them online, right? He's brought them out
Yeah.
into the open, and he has private searches going for them, tailored to exactly what they're looking for. He has a plan of when to follow up with them, when to call them, how to contact them, email, text, phone calls, how they want to be communicated with. And so Jonathan has taken this online lead offline and created a relationship and a sustainable, business plan based around them.
Mm,
So that's how you take those leads that you buy and turn them into clients.
yeah.
So
So 4 years from now, one of those people is going to buy. You're going to see.
no, I believe it 100%. And that's the whole thing. I mean, with going back to like NAR talking about that you have there's 7 sources of business, but the majority of your business comes from 4. What are those 4 going to be for you? What is authentically you? Right.
Hmm.
We have, you'll as you meet different agents in the world and through your classes and different networking, you'll find that some agents probably should go and do the for sale by owner. Some agents probably will thrive with the expireds and no nonsense and calling over and over again and just being a little bit more business-like and a little more stern. Other people are going to want to build those relationships, and maybe farming, geographic, social farming, maybe the right place for them, right?
Hmm.
So figuring out where your business comes from is so important. So just, I would say, sit down and think about it. What is something that you're willing to commit to for the next 18 months in order to get your business built to the level you want it to be?
Hmm. Yeah. For me, I can tell you what my 4 are. I do my sphere, obviously, farming the neighborhood. We have bot leads, which I enjoy doing as well. And then the one I have to add on is the social clubs. You know, I'm pretty
Mm.
sure I do more than that, but
Yeah, I was
those
going
are
to
the
say you have
mains.
open houses too.
I do open houses like pretty much every weekend. But
Yeah.
to me, like an open house, like time wise, like I know it is a pillar, and we do it, but it's like it's if you can't spend 4 hours on a weekend, do it. Like it's only 4 hours, so the other things take more time and more energy. I feel so. To me, I don't even think about open houses because it's like I'm gonna do it. It's gonna hang out in this house for 2 hours, talk to a couple people, and hopefully convert one of them.
Well, and Jonathan, I actually haven't told you this. You don't know this. Jonathan held the open house for our team this week, and this is a house that my husband and I actually flipped. So my husband was involved, and my husband was so impressed with how you did the open house, Jonathan. He talked about you all weekend long.
What
He
did I
talked
do?
about yeah. Well, he talked about the reels you put on. He talked about
Oh,
did you do the Facebook event too? Did you wind up
yeah, I
doing
do a
that?
Facebook event and I do a reel, like a little
Yeah.
tour of the house, and yeah,
So we'll have to do a whole podcast just on Jonathan's super super open house because
oh
it
yeah,
is definitely super special.
we'll have to
Uh,
add something else. It doesn't take long to go through, but
but here's the thing: like, here's my husband who has watched me do open houses for years, and ironically, I trained Jonathan on how to do open houses. Yet my husband was super impressed with how Jonathan did the open house,
see,
and
I'm gonna
and
sell
so
him his next house. That's gonna
you
be the ultimate thing,
you
like real
probably
estate.
could. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know. You're gonna just hang out and hang
it's
out
just
a
the way
few
he
more
does
times,
it.
and he'll. But it's funny how that perceived value created trust, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he said to me so many times this week when we were at the builder show, "Man, Jonathan's really doing a great job. His reel keeps popping up. Oh, did you see what Jonathan did to our house?
Oh
Did you
yeah.
see what Jonathan did?" And
Oh
so
yeah.
it was really funny to hear like the seller side of it because I feel like I'm always on the agent side of it. But it
Yeah.
was
That's
it was
awesome. It's good
really
to
funny
hear.
to see that. Yeah, it was nice. And so, letting the seller know, hey, I'm creating a Facebook event. hey, I'm going to put you all over social media. I'm going to make reels for you. Hey, I'm going to, not just sit here with a plate of cookies for 2 hours, but I'm going to make sure that people know what's going on. I'm going to door knock. I'm going to do the best job I can for this open house. It makes the seller feel like you did so much more.
I didn't know I was allowed to bring cookies. Next open house is again. There won't be any for anybody that's come for the open. It'll be for me. I
Just
just
you,
have to sit. Yeah, I'm gonna
you
sit
have
there with my
cookies.
little glass of milk and just dip cookies while people walk through the home. I think it's the way to go.
Some people do a lot of food, and I will do a food for, we call it a broker open, or an agent caravan, where we do an open house for agents and brokers. However, at open houses, maybe I'll have some water, but I've had too many kids eat a cookie and like I have to
Mm.
clean carpet that I'm done. Like
Yeah, no, it totally makes
I'm
sense.
not
Yeah,
interested in a lot of
it's
kids.
one of those things where
But
if you plan on bringing food to someoe's open house, they should know about it beforehand and give you the yay or nay because it can get you in a lot of trouble.
it can. Yeah. Yeah. The things that were being told to me when I first started real estate were, you know, bake cookies so that the house smells like cookies. I'm not using anybody's oven. I
Yeah,
don't need a house to smell like burnt cookies.
yeah.
Right? They also said bring candles and create an ambiance. I'm like, I am not lighting fire in somebody else's house when they're not home, right?
Hmm.
I mean, that's the last thing I need in liability. But those were actual tips given to me when I first started doing open houses. So luckily, the industry has shifted a little. We are in Georgia. I do like to have water when it's summertime. I'll have the little mini bottles of water
Hmm.
just because it's so hot here in Hotlanta. But
Well, we'll do all these discussions on the open house
yeah,
section.
yeah,
I'm
we'll
gonna,
do a
I'm
whole
gonna,
one for open houses. I know
yeah,
we
yeah.
can deep dive there.
We don't give you all the news right now. We are gonna wrap it up though. We got to send this thing. So everyone,
Yeah,
thank you so much for tuning in and paying attention and listening to us. And hopefully that was helpful to all of you.
yeah,
And I'm gonna throw this out there. Lauren doesn't know it. I'm gonna come up with something else that we're gonna raffle off. We're gonna do another raffle. I'm gonna find something cool and I'll buy it, and it'll be hopefully next episode. If not, the episode after, we're gonna have something. I just didn't figure out what it is yet. All right. Take care, everybody.
bye guys.